Hey, hold your applause, hold your applause, hold your applause, hold your applause. You're far too kind, you're far too kind, you're far too kind. Paid to Cause TV, your man Lewis Automatic is back with another episode for you. You feel me? I'm just here to, bring my love, of hip hop, sports, fashion, media, all these things to the table, man. And I want to give a shout out to a couple people, man. I want to give a shout out to, my man Keel at Built My Way Media for, helping me put this whole setup together. You feel me? I want to shout out the people at Blast Global Radio. You know what I'm saying? My man King Darius for keeping, that Lewis Automatic on blast. You feel me? We're working on some big things. You feel me? But I'm not gonna waste no time, man. I'm gonna, get right to the chase right now. And shout out to Kid L, man. I'm really piggybacking off of a topic I heard Kid L talk about, and these kind of rumblings have been in the motion. You feel me? Like since Detroit has been reaching the forefront of the hip hop culture the last, 5-6 years. You've seen various lists come out about, Detroit rappers or Detroit being the hottest city in rap or who's the hottest Detroit rappers. But, as Detroit, I believe Complex just had a list that came out, and I think Detroit was like number 9 on the list of, or might have been number 10, the all-time hip-hop cities in the United States or whatever. I think Atlanta was 1, New York was 2. I think Detroit, we were like around 9 or 10 or whatever. And with that being said, we have to talk about, the Mount Rushmore of Detroit hip hop, you feel me, and who truly is, the 4 founders or the foundation bearers or the foundation layers, let's just say, of what we look at Detroit hip hop. And it's going to be an interesting conversation because we have to break down, what is Mount Rushmore, you feel me? Let's see, we're gonna do a little digging. So yeah, even when you look at Mount Rushmore, it's controversy because you got people like Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, you feel me? People who own slaves, colonized slaves. But you gotta kind of look at it like, okay, when you comparing Mount Rushmore, you're saying like, okay, these are the 4 most important people in, I guess, I guess Mount Rushmore was made in 1920, you feel me? So obviously they're not gonna have people like JFK or even Barack Obama, you feel me, the first black president. So they're talking about the people before like 1920 or whenever this shit was made to basically like lay the foundation for what it is to be. You know what I'm saying? So like, let me see. Okay, so even in the 30s, it wasn't yet complete. So I believe like, okay, the development started in the 20s or whatever. But I'm trying to see when it was actually done. I don't know. 1937? That's crazy. Okay, yes, it says George Washington's face was done by 1934. Either way, these was the OG presidents who kind of, laid the foundation. So like, in the long running span of Detroit hip hop, you feel me, we have to look at, okay, who is going to be Mount Rushmore? Because at the end of the day, this legacy is going to keep going. But it's the simple fact that right now, is Detroit finally has the respect it's due. It's already been cemented that, okay, even though like these lists, you give and take, you take them with a grain of salt or whatever, but it's basically been stated that Detroit is, on the list of one of the most important hip hop cities in American history or in hip hop history. So, okay, there's a whole litany of artists. You gotta look at it with Detroit hip hop. Detroit hip hop, there's 2 different sides of Detroit hip hop, you feel me? You got, the hip hop side, like more like the Backpack Lyricist Lounge, St. Andrews, that type of side. That's a little stereotypical. And then you also got like, the street side, Street Lords, Cheddar Boys, that type of shit, you feel me? But it's like, sometimes those things could bleed over. Sometimes those 2 sections could bleed over depending on, the caliber of the artist. I think like Bodie James is a good example, you feel me? Bodie James is somebody who obviously, you listen to his content, it's very street content. He knows a lot about, things he talks about as far as in regards to the streets, but he's also a lyricist, and he's somebody who is respected and renowned by lyricists. He's signed to Griselda, I believe. Griselda, that's, they brought back, East Coast lyricism to a large extent. So, a lot of times these things could bleed over. But, when you look at the Mount Rushmore of Detroit, you have to look at the 4 most impactful artists, I feel, that laid the foundation for other artists to come behind them, like artists who opened up doors. So let's just get straight to it. Number 1, obviously Eminem. Eminem is the first face on Detroit's Mount Rushmore hip hop. Now that might be controversial to somebody, but let me explain why. Eminem's I'm gonna go to just the Detroit influence. Eminem's earliest influence from Detroit was an artist by the name of Awesome Dre. If I'm not mistaken, Awesome Dre was the first Detroit artist to receive a major deal. Now there was also Detroit's Most Wanted. Even I believe Kid Rock had an early contract with Too Short back in the days. You feel me? So, Eminem, he represents the old, like when I say the old guard, really the original guard. Like even Trick was out in the early 90s, Goon Squad, proof, like there was a lot of things going on. But it just goes without saying. Eminem is like, I believe Drake might have surpassed him, but Eminem, he's like one of the biggest selling artists of all time. Like his albums, actually it was Outkast, Speakerboxxx, The Love Below became the largest selling hip hop album in United States history. It sold 13 million. But who knows? I don't know what the Marshall Mathers LP. So I think Eminem might have went diamond twice in the US. But like his impact is just, it's unavoidable, it's undeniable. He represents everything from the old guard to the new guard, from MCs from Awesome Dre, even though he's from Flint, MC Breed, all the way down to the T Grizzlies and you may not think that, but if you don't recall, if you might not remember, T Grizzly, it was like a minor spat he had with Royce and Eminem. It was a thing about actually making that connection, you know what I'm saying? Because even though a lot of times in Detroit we look at Eminem and we might say like, Eminem, he don't really represent it for us, he don't really speak for us. I mean, when 8 Mile came out, that was really the biggest representation we had. Now, in retrospect, we can look back and say, okay, that content didn't speak for us, or, that wasn't just the whole represented Detroit. And it took 20 years for the world to get a real picture or glimpse of what artists from Detroit really look, feel, and sound like. Eminem, I mean, nobody's gonna sell as many records as Eminem. So, I mean, his skill is A1. He's an A1 MC. I mean, hate it or love it, he's a groundbreaking artist. I mean, the things that he did, I mean, the Grammy wins, the record sales, like the tours, like the money. I mean, and even from a business aspect, Shady Records, I mean, he put out platinum artists, D12 went platinum, Bobby Trice went platinum. We know what 50 Cent did. So I'm not saying that he was the greatest executive. I know Paul Rosenberg had a lot to do with that. But Eminem, I feel like they covered all bases. They did everything they had to do. He was a lyricist. He had put out an independent album, Infinite. It really didn't do well, but he was a battle rapper, and he was able to pay his dues. One thing you can say about Eminem, you can't take away from him. He paid his dues. He paid every due that you would want an MC to pay in order to make it to the top. And I mean, like I said, it's just like his presence is just so massive in the industry. It's like it goes without saying. Like, Eminem, he's the first face on the Detroit Mount Rushmore. But secondly, it's like the polar opposite, it's the direct contrast. Blade Icewood. Blade Icewood is actually the second face on the Detroit Mount Rushmore. Now, Blade represents an era in Detroit. He represents Detroit culture. But Blade represents an era in Detroit where you had to be there. Blade represents an era in Detroit when we thought that, and I'm not saying this in a negative way, but we damn near thought that was as good as it was gonna get for Detroit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when the Street Lords was doing it, cause like it just seemed like Detroit, we was just so blackballed from the industry. You feel me? It seemed like the only thing they would accept from us was Eminem. Just to piggyback off the Eminem thing, it felt like at that point in Detroit, it was just like they just wasn't rocking with us. But what the street, like in saying Blade, he's the face, and he's the great late ruler because he ended up being the martyr. And rest in peace to Wipeout, rest in peace to you know what I'm saying, rest in peace to Proof as well. Proof of D12. I mean, it's a lot of fallen soldiers in Detroit, but we don't want to veer too far away from what we trying to do here. But Blade, like when you say Blade, you're speaking of an era. You're speaking of an era in Detroit when our voices, we felt like our voice wasn't being heard. And just how I said Eminem was our biggest voice and he was our representation, but the streets almost looked at it like a misrepresentation. Because I remember when Blade famously said, I'm here to put the real hood on the map, bitch. You feel me? So it's kind of like I said, in Detroit, it's always been two separate worlds. So Eminem might have been king of the mainstream, but Blade was the king of the underground. He was our great late ruler, man. I remember my 17th birthday, man. I gifted myself like 3 Street Lord CDs, man. Like Platinum Masterpiece, a couple mixtapes, man. Like that's just the era that it was. And Blade, like it's the streets, bro. That's all. That's really what you have to say about it. It's the streets, and I mean you can't mention Blade without mentioning, you know, Juan, Street Lord Juan, G-Rock, R.I.P. Fat Mike, you know, just that whole movement, the East Side Cheddar Boys, you feel me? Like even Rock Bottom, Big Herc, and like, you know what I'm saying? Like, here's the thing, there's a lot of like Big Herc is one of my favorite MCs out Detroit, and really, like he's one of the greatest MCs out Detroit, but I just feel like Blade is the face of that era. One, because he was the martyr of that era. For like, you know what I'm saying, even though like it was a lot of shit that happened, but Blade, he's just the one that the people gravitated to and lifted up. And I remember like even on that Platinum Masterpiece, you feel me, they had so many features on that joint. I mean, they had like Rockefeller, Shine, Capone and Noriega, Birdman, man, E40, Be Legit, Juvenile, man, the list went on, man. Like that was like some shit that was unheard of. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Platinum Masterpiece, you feel me? Like those dudes were like street luxury. You know what I'm saying? They were truly like they were the streets, bro. They were the streets. It wasn't nothing manufactured. It wasn't nothing fake about that shit. Man, yeah. So Blade is deeper than rap with this shit. And like I mean, it's not just Detroit, it's hip hop in general, but like when you talk about the Mount Rushmore Detroit, Blade represents, I mean, like he literally the Doughboy Cash Out, Team Eastside, you know what I'm saying, that era, that, you know what I'm saying, the new generation, you feel me, that basically became what they were, you feel me, like that led, that we were just the second generation to that. My generation, you know what I'm saying, those around my age, like Doughboy, Cash Out, Team Eastside, like our generation, we were just direct descendants of them. You feel me? As far as like Detroit street hip hop, we're just direct descendants of them. So, like I said, Blade was the great late ruler. So, all right, we off that. Number 3. Now this is kind of gonna be kind of the controversial one, cause like every artist leads into the next artist. So we had Eminem. So then we led to Blade. So now here's where I'm kind of vexed right now. When I mean not really vexed, but here's where I'm torn. Let's say you have, I'll, as a singular artist, I want to say Icewear Vezo, right? You know what I'm saying? Vezo, he's reached the plateau in Detroit maybe 3-4 times. I mean, he's been the hottest. Like I said, he's had like 3-4 summers all to himself early. I mean, the only thing that really stopped him was those prison stints. He was the first Detroit rapper to sign a deal with Motown. Did it the independent way, just, you know, off the muscle. But in the same respect, I cannot mention Vezo or Team Eastside without mentioning Doughboy's Cash Out. Because if you from the West Side and you come from my era, like you like that, you know what I'm saying, that clique really did their thing, man. They survived, you know what I'm saying, they survived the times, they weathered the storms, and they really prevailed as true legends in the city. And as a clique, they stuck together, man. And that's one thing you just gotta always respect about a clique that stuck together, man. They had each other back, man. They were a clique that, at least from the outside looking in, that they chose loyalty over royalty. That's something you can truly say and assume about Doughboys Cash Out. And just speaking for the West Side, or even a better way to say it in reference to Doughboys Cash Out, is their loyalty brought forth royalty. You feel me? That, like, I just have a great appreciation for, people that make my city look good. And like I said, they had to deal with Jeezy. They popped out with the deal first. They was the first young niggas in the city with the deal. Besides, the next artist I'm gonna get to. But like I said, man, so I'm thinking like it might have to be like a split. Like, shout out to Vez, but it's like I can't just say like Payroll, even though it's Pay. But it's like you can't mention Pay without mentioning the Doughboy. It's like it was really like a group effort. So it's like I'm gonna say Team Eastside, Doughboys Cash Out. Yeah, but then that's not fair, man. What do y'all think? Is that I think that's a come on, man. We gotta come out with one. All right, so look, I'm gonna say Vezo, just because he represents the era as well. We could say that, but see, like the Doughboys Cash Out, they're really like Dame. Shout out to Dame Dot. I believe he was the producer for Team Eastside, and he crafted their sound. But Payroll, he crafted the sound for the Doughboys Cash Out. And I ain't gonna lie, man, that sound carried the city for a few years, man. And that's really like what laid the foundation for what we have now. So, man, I'm gonna go with Vez just because, just the output and the profile, because he has a strong output of music and it performed well, and he's on, like, I would say, like, as a singular artist, he's on like a big platform right now. So but shout out to Doughboys Cash Out though, but so we're gonna go Eminem, Blade, Vez, and fourth I'm gonna go Big Sean. Shout out to the boy Big Sean. I'm gonna have to say him. I mean, for the new generation, I guess I would say, okay, on the two pillars, I guess you would say, like Eminem and Sean is like on the outside, and then because they represent the mainstream, and then Blade and Vez, they're more on the inside because they're like the they represent the streets and shit, you feel me? So it's like it shows the balance of the Detroit hip hop scene, because it has to be like that. If you're gonna have a Mount Rushmore in Detroit, it has to be two artists that are more lyrical, I guess. They're not really backpack. Big Sean isn't really backpack, but I guess in this sense he's more of a lyricist. And then you got Vez and Blade, who's definitely most street. You feel me? But Big Sean, definitely a legend, an all-star, starter on good music starter. I think the man sold like 50 million records or some shit. I think it was some crazy shit like that. 50 million sales. Like just one of the most improbable stories, but it's a great narrative. He rapped for Kanye at a radio station, and Kanye was so enamored with the flow or the bars, it might have just been the energy. You feel me? Like that's just crazy, because like just to think about rapping for a rapper or like passing them a demo, that's like a 1 in a billion shot, and that junk worked. And I mean, to make the most of an opportunity, and there's so many trials and tribulations on the way to the top. So I can only imagine the decisions that man had to make in order to get where he's at. And it's just, I have to take I don't have a hat on, but I have to definitely give him a salute. And I mean, like I said, the first young black mainstream artist from Detroit on the hip hop scene to really, give him some Detroit flavor and show him, show them who we are, as not just on some, cause like all they had was Eminem. Like, shout out to, like, I think Obi, like I said earlier, Obi went platinum, and D12 went platinum a couple of times. But I feel like with Obi's first album, he had to come out on the Eminem shit. Then on the second album, like with records like Cry Now, he was definitely able to give you more of that Detroit, lyricist type of feel, you feel me? Because that was the type of vibe the beat was on, you feel me? And I believe he had a single with Akon called Snitch, and I think that caused some controversy. You know what I'm saying? That might have hurt him a little bit, but I feel like Sean, as far as the mainstream, he's been the most viable. And man, you can't do nothing but salute to that. But in short, that's my Mount Rushmore. Eminem, Blade Icewood, Icewood Bezo, and Big Sean. You feel me? I feel like that's the most comprehensive look. I feel like that's the most comprehensive list. I feel like that's the list that have the most base covered. And you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm gonna roll with. So, hey man, it's your dog Lewis Automatic. You know what I'm saying? It's really the first official episode of Paid the Cost TV. So we're just gonna leave it out like that.